Welcome to this deep dive. We've got a whole stack of sources here you sent over, all about tweaking your classic Tamiya Grasshopper II.
Yeah, it looks like articles, forum notes, your own observations, and they're all circling around one main goal today.
Right. And that is figuring out how you can get, a square wheel set up on your GH2. Same size wheels, front and back, ideally 1.9 inches or maybe even bigger.
And crucially, without using those sometimes unreliable front axle adapters, that's a key point you wanted to avoid.
Exactly. And, if possible, maybe fit some wider tires too for the look, maybe some grip.
Okay, so we're going to dig into these sources, look at the GH2 chassis details they mention, and map out the best routes. Might even find some built-in tricks you didn't know about.
Sounds good. Okay, so first things first, let's look at the GH2 basics from these sources. The front end. What's the story there?
Well, they all seem to agree the front setup is pretty straightforward. The wheels mount straight onto the stub axles. They use standard 5x11 by 4 millimeter bearings. The bearings sit right inside the wheel.
Ah, okay. So that bearing fit, that's the important bit,
Yeah.
right? That's why you don't actually need front adapters, which is good news for your goal.
Precisely. That direct fitment is built in. And the sources even note these front bits are the same as some other Tamiya buggies, like the Hornet. Just some context there.
Okay. Now, the back axle.
Yeah.
Standard Tamiya pin drive.
Yeah.
Right. But digging into the kit details you sent, is there something unexpected about the adapters in the box?
Yeah, this is where it gets kind of neat. The sources point out something often missed. Your kit comes with the standard C7 adapters, which fit the small stock rear wheels and also wild one of Fox rears.
Right.
But the parts tree also has these B5 adapters, often marked not used in the instructions.
That's the little discovery then, the aha moment.
Totally. Because swapping to those B5s, that suddenly lets you fit a whole bunch of older Tamiya pin drive wheels. Think original Grasshopper, Hornet, Frog. It's a built-in compatibility path.
Okay, that's really useful. And just to confirm, your sources definitely say the stock GH2 setup is staggered.
Yeah.
1.9 up front, but smaller rears.
Yep, confirmed. Fronts are 1.9 inch, but the rears are smaller, maybe 1.7, 1.8 inch-ish, depending on how you measured the tire. So yeah, square stance needs some changes.
All right, let's get into the options for achieving that true score setup. Adapter-free up front, based on what you sent. Just using 4 stock GH2 wheels doesn't work. We established that.
Correct. The rears are just too small. So if you want a true 1.9 inch square setup with direct fit, the main contender popping up in these sources is the Tamiya 22-hour-77 Hornet large diameter wheels.
Okay, Hornet large diameter. Are they genuinely 1.9 all around?
Sources say yes. 1.9 inch diameter, front and rear. And the fitment is, well, pretty ideal for your goal.
How so?
The fronts, direct bearing fit, just like stock, easy. The rears, they fit directly using those not used B5 adapters we were just talking about.
Perfect. So you use the parts already in your kit, minimal fuss. What about the width on those?
Consistently 26 millimeters wide, front and rear, based on the info here. So that gives a nice square base for tires.
Okay, interesting. What if you wanted to go a bit bigger in diameter? The sources also mentioned Tamiya Wild One or Fox wheels, the OEM style ones.
Right. Those get you up to 2.0 inches square diameter. And again, the fronts fit the bearings directly. The rears use the GH2's stock C7 adapters, the 4-pin ones. So diameter-wise, it works.
That's a butt coming.
Yeah. There's a catch flagged in the sources. The width is staggered. Narrow fronts, maybe 23 millimeters, and pretty wide rears, like 38 millimeter.
Oh.
So to get a truly square look in terms of width, you'd need 4 of the rear wheels. And the sources warn that fitting those wide rears on the front, well, it can cause clearance problems, rubbing.
Right, makes sense. Okay, one last option mentioned is jumping up to 2.2-inch wheels, like Tamiya DT02 or DT03 fronts.
Yeah, those fronts often fit the GH2 bearings directly, too. But here's the key difference. The matching 2.2 rears almost always use a 12mm hex drive now.
Not pin drive.
Exactly. So you can get a 2.2 square setup and you get access to a massive range of modern tires. But you absolutely have to use rear hex adapters like the Tamiya 53913 part. No way around it for the rears.
Okay, let's talk wider tires then, since that was part of your goal. Based on those wheel options, the Tamiya 227.7, the 1.9, 26mm wide ones, seem like the most straightforward path for adding some width without adapters.
They really do seem to be the sweet spot, according to this info. That 26mm width is versatile. It can handle Tamiya's own slightly wider BBX tires, like 30mm or even the 38mm rears.
And aftermarket stuff.
Yeah, lots of 1.9-inch crawler or scalar tires, which often come in like 35 to 45mm widths, should fit on that 26mm rim okay.
Whereas using 4 Wild One Fox rears gets you the width 38mm inherently, but again, sources flag that front clearance issue.
Right, and the 2.2-inch route, needing the hex adapters on the rear, definitely gives you the absolute biggest choice of wide tires out there today.
So let's put this all together practically for your Grasshopper the second. When you start putting wider tires on, what's the main headache the sources keep bringing up?
Oh, it's clearance, hands down. Tires rubbing, usually on the front bumper, sometimes the body, maybe suspension parts, especially when you turn the wheels.
Yeah, I saw a note here that even with those Tamiya 2077 wheels, which are kind of designed for this era of buggy, you might need to trim the front bumper. That really highlights the tight space.
It really does. And remember, wider, grippier tires put more strain on your steering servo, your linkages, plus bigger diameter tires affect gearing, motor load, handling changes too.
So the advice seems to be,
for the GH2, the sources kind of suggest that tires in the, say, 30 to maybe 38mm width range probably offer a decent balance. You get the look, some extra footprint, without necessarily needing massive surgery on the car.
okay, wrapping this up then. If your top priority is a direct fit 1.9-inch square setup with decent potential for wider tires, the Tamiya 2202 S77 wheels using those B5 adapters from your kit seems like the winner based on these sources.
Seems that way, yeah. If 2.0-inch is more your thing, the Wild One Fox wheels work for diameter, but you'll have that staggered width unless you tackle potential front clearance issues with 4 rears.
And 2.2-inch square. Possible, tons of tire choice, but you must use rear hex adapters.
And whatever you choose, check that clearance carefully when you mount up wider rubber.
Which leads to a final thought for you, really. Given that even the ideal direct fit 1.9 option, the 220/77s, might still need bumper trimming for really wide tires, is sticking rigidly to the no adapter rule on the rear worth it? Or might using rear hex adapters to unlock all those 2.2-inch tires actually be an easier path to fitting the wide rubber you want, even if it means one type of adapter? Which compromise best fits your vision for the ultimate Grasshopper the second? Something to think about.